Hello, hello, my beautiful pearls. How is everyone doing today? I am doing great. I had a very, very good morning and a very good day so far. And this morning, while I was having my morning walk, I was thinking, how am I going to introduce today's topic? Or what exactly am I going to be focusing on? Or what kind of story am I going to share with you? And I remembered a very, very interesting story. But before we go into that, our topic today is about clutter. And the one thing that people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize how much clutter is actually affecting our day to day life. And this is what I'm going to take you through today and show you really how clutter affects our daily life. Now, we're going to be together for around between 45 to 50 minutes. So bear with me. I'm going to share a lot of very, very interesting information, things that you might be even able to apply in your daily life starting today that could help you if you are someone who actually has clutter around. And at the very end of this live, I'm going to be sharing an invitation with you. So stay tuned and enjoy all this information that you will be taking on board today with me. So let me tell you the story that I remembered this morning while I was doing my morning walk. So earlier this year, I was back home where my parents live, right? And my father was not really feeling well. So I went there, literally, I was like running to get there. And I went there just to figure out how I can support my dad while he was not feeling well. So when I arrived, I realized that he hadn't slept for 21 days and he was having a very severe UTI. And it was not really clear what was the problem because he wouldn't, first of all, my father hates doctors, so he would never go to a doctor. And unless like he's really, really like the pain is unbearable, and only then he would just accept to go and see a doctor. So the fact that he hadn't slept for 21 days was, for me, it was like really so alarming. I mean, how can anyone not sleep for 21 days? And you know what happens when you are never getting rest? Your mind starts playing games on you and it starts playing illusions. So you become delusional, basically. And UTI does have this effect. But that's not the story. The story is how my dad's illusions were affected by his surrounding. That is where the story was, at least for me. And this is what made me become so adamant on really making sure that, at least for me, clutter does not exist. So it when I was there, like for the first week, so I was there for 2 weeks. Oh, by the way, my dad is okay now. So just so you know. So the first week I was there, I literally did not sleep for 6 nights. So I would lie next to him in bed because he wasn't sleeping. I would try to force him to sleep. And the minute he would move, I would be like alert and always trying to figure out how I can support him. Now, obviously, the minute I arrived the next day, I scheduled a doctor appointment for him. I took him to the doctor and he had a full checkup. We did a brain CT. We did all kinds of checkups for him, and obviously blood tests and everything that you can even think of. And the result was that he was having a very severe UTI, and this was the main reason why he wasn't actually sleeping. And this infection, in fact, also causes hallucinations. And this is what was happening. And he wasn't able to sleep because of these hallucinations. The Problem was that these hallucinations were becoming even more intense because of the surrounding he was in. So after 1 week, and his situation was not really getting better, I had to tell my brother and my sister to join me because I really, really felt that that was it for him. It was close to his passing away. It was that bad. So I told my sister, she came all the way from the US. My brother flew in from the UAE, where he lives, where I also live. And they both went to Lebanon, where my parents live. And just at least to help me out, because for the first 6 days, like I told you, my dad was not getting any better. And then the medications that the doctor was giving him started taking a little bit of effect. So he started sleeping a little bit more. When my siblings came home, we realized that every time my father wakes up at night, as he goes in, so he's staying in this living room, right? And we had put a bed there for him so he doesn't have to go up the stairs, because that was very dangerous for him, especially that he wasn't sleeping well. So he was losing balance all the time. So for him to walk from his bed to get to the restroom, there's like a corridor. And in this corridor, I'm just going to paint a picture for you. So you go, the corridor is like basically maybe what, 3 meters long? That's it. So in those 3 meters, you have 4 or maybe 5 small tables. On those tables, there are all kinds of things that I'm not really sure what they are, plus pictures on the wall, frames, like both walls. It's like you're walking inside a museum, but not a really nice one. And mirrors and tables and a carpet that is not like one carpet, like so many different carpets, one on top of the other. And it's, for me, I have to tell you, the minute I go inside our house in Lebanon, I feel like so much energy is draining out of me. And I feel so heavy. Anyway, going back to my dad. So in those 3 meters, this is what is there. And the corridor is like maybe what, 1.5 meters of width. So in this trip from his bed to the restroom, he starts talking about places he has been, about why we are putting him in this place, about why we keep on bringing people from outside to take care of him, why, who is this person on the wall, and this is not my family. And he was actually talking mainly about all the pictures that he was seeing, and he was talking to the pictures, and he was talking about this space that he was in all the time, talking about how much weight he was feeling, and also the fact that this is not him, this is not his, this is not for him. Apparently, all this space that was cluttered was causing him a lot of pain. In, like, subconsciously, he was feeling this pain, but he never realized that he had this pain until this started happening. Actually, he didn't even realize. We realized, because at that time, and my father, I can assure you, until today, does not know what was happening to him during those 2 weeks. And we didn't tell him because we didn't, he has, my father has a lot of ego, and he doesn't like to be vulnerable. So we didn't really tell him what happened during those 2 weeks, but we know what happened during those 2 weeks. So when we realized this, or when we noticed that this is what was happening, what we did is actually we completely emptied that corridor. So we literally removed everything from that corridor so that his trip from his bed to the restroom at night, or even during the day, but mainly at night, does not cause him to start going into trips in his own mind. And on that same night, when we removed everything, he started getting better. And his hallucinations started getting less intense. And at the end of the second week, like his hallucinations almost completely disappeared. So, why am I telling you this story? Why is this important? Because my dad, since like forever, him and my mom are hoarders. My dad thinks that he doesn't hoard or he doesn't clutter. And obviously my mom doesn't think that she clutters, and they both don't realize that this is really, really a major problem. It's a big issue. When you are in a space and it's full of things all around you, this is like, it's like literally as if you are sitting in a prison. The prison, the only difference is that the prison is small because it is small, and there are walls that make it small, and they make it like impossible for you to literally breathe. You feel like you are suffocating because you are in such a small place, such a small space. The same thing happens exactly when you have so much clutter around you. And let me tell you why. Clutter basically is having a lot of things, right? It's having so many things that is filling, like things that are filling your space. And things or anything is made up of energy. We know that. So tables have energies, plates have energies, sofas have energies. Everything around us is made of energy, and they have their energies. The only difference is that the way the energy moves in things is way much slower than the way this energy, or we're talking about the particles that make, so everything is moving. This is why it's energy, because they're made of atoms, and the atoms are moving. There's no stability, there's nothing that is like fixed, right? So everything is moving and everything is energy. The energy of things is something that will simply take space. Space of what? Space of our own energy. And this is why, mainly, if we have a lot of clutter in our own space, or if we have so many things around us, not only in our space, anywhere we go, if we go to places where there are so many things and there's hardly like space for us to move around, we would start, like even me talking about it now, I feel like there's this burden, there's this heaviness. And this heaviness is caused by the energy of these things, because they are taking away from the space of my energy, of my aura. So the more stuff we have around us, the more, how do I call it, burdened we feel, the more weight we feel is on our shoulders. Not only on our shoulders, we feel it in our hearts. We feel it, like, if I tell you, every time I go to my parents' house in Lebanon, like the minute I get into the house, this feeling of overwhelm starts, getting through me. And like from the minute I go in until the minute I leave, it does not stop. Because God bless her. I mean, my mom, like, she does literally, she does not throw anything, anything. Like even the garbage, okay, the leftovers of food or everything, she uses them nicely, sustainably, in a very good way, because she uses them for the plants, and my father uses them in the garden. But everything else that has a reason for being or no reason for being is actually being in our house. It stays there. She doesn't throw it. Like, I will give you an example. My mother has, and I saw this time when I was back home, she has like a big box full of, wait for it, bottle covers. You know, the cover of the bottle. Don't ask me why, because this is beyond my understanding. But I have to tell you, for people who hoard, they have their own reasoning, and they will always find you a reason that for them makes a lot of sense. Obviously, if you're not someone who hoards, or if you're not a hoarder, it would simply not click. You would not get it. But for them, it makes so much sense. Why does it make so much sense for them? And why do they hoard? Hoarding is something that is really, really, if we dig deep inside to understand why it happens, it all goes back to having a very, very specific limiting belief. That is the limiting belief of coming from lack or being in lack all the time. And this is why people who have this limiting belief that they are always in lack, they will not be able to get rid of things, because they will always have this feeling of, what if a day comes and I will need this? What if a day comes and I won't be able to buy this again? What if, like, especially in Lebanon, for example, what if there's war and I need this stuff? There's always this need, and there's always this what if something happens. So people who hoard mainly hoard because they want to feel safe. They want to know that they are always sort of protected, or sort of um, having everything that they may require at any given point in time. Now, you ask me, why would she want the covers of the buttons? I don't know. But this becomes a trend. It's not logical anymore. It doesn't have any specific logic so that you can understand this, but it becomes a pattern. It becomes something that they live with, that they cannot live without, unless they come to a realization that, hey, this is clutter, and hey, this clutter is only taking space from my own space, and this clutter is only making me feel worse or feel bad about my space, about my energy, about my own emotions and my own feelings. And believe me, clutter makes you feel like more emotional than usual, because it's taking up a lot of your energy in space. So this space is not spacious anymore. This is what clutter does. Like, I wanted to say something, then now I forgot it. I forgot it. But if you allow clutter to be around you, this is what you should expect, or this is what you would expect: to have lesser energy, to feel always like there's a burden and not understand where this burden is coming from. So what I did is when I came back home to Dubai, where I live, the first thing I did was I went through a decluttering exercise for my own home. And believe me, I am not a hoarder, because I did never want to be like my mom. I knew she had this issue. And I always knew it because I always used to tell her, please throw things away. Please, this is so much and it's impossible. And she would always get very emotional if we move. And I tell you, when we did this exercise, when my father was sick, oh my God, the reaction that she had from us just removing everything from that, only that corridor, like the victimization, the problems, the crying, the oh my God, nobody loves me, nobody wants me to have my own space. And those, like, this was happening every single day just because we emptied that corridor. And I am not sure if that corridor is still empty today, because there's nobody there to take pictures for us, But I honestly really, really, really doubt it, because she cannot help it. So going back to what I did is, the minute I came back home, I did that exercise and I removed everything that had no meaning for me at all to be present in my space. And I did this exercise. I have to tell you, I thought I really didn't have much. I really didn't have a lot of stuff. But from my bedroom only, and I want you to start just visualizing or thinking or trying to imagine how much stuff I had. And I'm not someone who clutters. So from my bedroom only, I removed seven, 17 big, those big black garbage bags that have, like, I think 60 gallons capacity or volume. I removed 17 bags of those, like those plastic bags. They were full. They were full of clothes. They were full of shoes. They were full of bags. They were full of bed linens. They were full of towels, of anything you can think of that you might be keeping in your bedroom. And in my bedroom, for me to have enough space for everything, for all of this, and I thought, because I needed those clothes and I needed those shoes and I needed those bags, and oh my God, I did not need all of this. I didn't. But that's what I thought. This is where my mind was. And I was always thinking, I'm going to do this exercise. And I was always keeping it off until that day when I decided that, when I came back from Lebanon, I was like, no, I am doing this. So the minute I removed those bags, I had 2 closets in my bedroom and one dresser, big dresser, and a smaller dresser, like high dressers, okay? And another cabinet where I had all my bags, my handbags, and a shoe cabinet, like almost, I don't know, 2 meters high shoe cabinet. The minute I removed all of this, like, the cabinets were still there. One of the closets was still there, but it was completely empty after I removed everything. The cabinet that had all the bags was also completely empty. The small dresser was completely empty. The shoe cabinet was completely empty. But they were still there. Like physically, they were still in the bedroom. However, when I removed all those bags and I took them out of the bedroom, that night, I cannot tell you the deep sleep that I actually managed to have, even though those cupboards and those dressers were still in the bedroom, but just everything that was inside of them was gone. And this, what was actually gone from my bedroom, is all this heaviness caused by this stuff that I had, by the energy of this stuff, because this energy was taking a lot from my energy, from my own aura, from my own space. And that is why, because there was like kind of a release of energy in my bedroom, that night I actually slept like a baby, because I felt there was so much ease. There was like, oh, I'm gonna have a very good night. And I did. So this is a very small example of how much clutter, and this is not even what I call clutter. This is me having a lot of stuff. Clutter is even like is a lot more than that, but this, even having so much more than what we need, than what we really have a real need for, this is kind of clutter. It's like the beginning of becoming a hoarder. So if you continue on in that pattern, you will eventually become a hoarder or someone who keeps clutter around. Now, there's a difference between being a hoarder or someone who collects valuable stuff. Like you can collect valuable stuff, and if this does not affect your space, or if this does not become a problem in your space, then that's fine. But for example, let's say you collect, I don't know, baseball card games, right? Or yeah, baseball card games, the cards that are for like the games, or like baseball balls or golf balls or anything that is like, I have friends who collect bikes, small bikes, big bikes, gadget bikes. So if this is something that you can put on a display in your home, like you have maybe 10 or 12 nice, small, big, different sizes of bikes, and you are putting them there as a display, that's nice. That's not hoarding. That's just you having a nice collection that is sentimentally close to your heart, something that you really want to keep, something that means something to you. But if this becomes out of your hands, so instead of having, let's say, 10 or 12 cars where that you display, or bikes that you display, you're now talking about hundreds and hundreds of bikes, or hundreds of collectibles, of cars, or maybe even thousands of cards, that they become like piles and piles of boxes somewhere in your house. This, my friend, is hoarding. This is the problem. This is a big issue. And you want to start to think, why are you doing that? You want to start to ask yourself the question, what is it that actually makes you feel that you want to keep this stuff. And the more you dig, the more you realize where this is coming from. Sometimes it's not even related to lack. Sometimes it could be something that we are picking up from a completely different reason or a completely different experience in our life. But there's always like a core or a deep reason why we are doing what we are doing when we clutter and why we clutter. So that is basically how clutter works. The more you have stuff in your space, the more you have things around you, the heavier your space becomes, the heavier the energy in your space becomes, the more negative the energy in your space becomes. And the minute you start losing those things or those belongings and just giving them, just also, by the way, the fact of you giving your belongings is already a feeling that is making you feel, or that is making you vibrate on a higher level, because giving is something that it's a high vibrational energy, it's a high vibrational emotion, it's a high vibrational act. The act of giving, the act of, obviously when you're giving from your heart, and you're giving for a better cause, or for people who actually really need the things that you are donating or giving away. There are people, for example, who collect shoes, like shoes, and we're not talking about 40 or 30 pairs. No, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pairs of shoes that I'm gonna, like, let's think about it. So let's say you have 3,000 pair of shoes, and there are people who actually have this number of shoes. Google it, you will find so many. I promise you. Just think about it. How many years does this person actually need to wear all those shoes? And believe me, people who collect things like that, they never get to wear them. And they're always stuck on wearing one thing and one thing only. And they keep on going back and back to that thing. It happened to me even with like, I didn't have obviously 3,000 pair of shoes, but I had a lot of shoes. I wasn't wearing like almost all of them. I was wearing maybe 3 or 4 of those, like that collection. So having so much stuff does not even let us enjoy the stuff that we have. Think about it. You know what I mean? So if you are someone who collects a lot of things, ask yourself this question: when am I going to use all of this? Where am I going to use it? How am I going to use all of this stuff? Am I ever going to use any of this? When you start asking yourself these questions, you start realizing that, or you start asking yourself a question like, why do I do this? Why am I having these things? Why am I collecting all of this? And this is where you start digging to try and understand where this is coming from. The minute you start asking yourself these questions, like this light bulb goes on, and you would go like, okay, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? And if you are someone who is very close to going out of that nature of yours, or maybe it's not your nature, it's something that subconsciously you have been doing for years and years and years, but it's not really who you are. And if you are on the verge of changing that, you will start asking these questions and you will start digging to understand why this is happening for you in your life. Why are you doing this? And remember, like my mom was always thinking that she was the victim and she was like, everything is happening and she has zero control on anything. Even when she hoards, for her, it's like, of course I'm gonna have to do this because what if, and if we're gonna die, and if something's going to happen, and there's always this negative what if. There's never something positive there, and there will never be something positive there because of the lack of energy that the space where she lives has. There's no space for imagination. There's no space for breathing. There's no space for thinking. There's no space for doing anything in that house. So there's no way she would even think that this is something that is controlled by her. Of course, it is controlled by her. Everything that we do, everything that we have, everything that we think of, everything that we want in our life, everything that we have, everything that we don't have, everything that we want, everything that we don't want, is decided by us and by us only. I'm the one who came and took the decision that I'm going to declutter my house. I'm the one who decided that I'm going to go on that journey. Nobody imposed that journey on me. And nobody imposed the journey before on me. I was the one who decided that I'm going to have 3 closets in my bedroom. Nobody came and told me, hey, you need to have 3 closets in your bedroom. No, I decided that. So going back to this, everything that we do, you, me, everyone, is controlled by us. And when we start realizing this, we start understanding that we are putting ourselves in this situation. We are bringing this energy to our space. So when we go out, we feel more uplifted, vibrating on a higher level and more joyful. And then the minute we go inside our house, we feel like there's that burden. That burden, my friend, is caused by you and me in your space and in my space. And only you and me have the power to remove that burden. It didn't appear from nowhere. We brought it to us. And this burden, I want to tell you something. Having a lot of clutter does not only affect your energy and your space, it affects your way of thinking. It affects your emotions, because obviously everything is connected, right? So your energy drops down, your way of thinking, even your thoughts. When your space is cluttered, even your thoughts cannot seem to make sense. So even your thoughts are cluttered. They're all over the place because there's something in that space around you that is not working right. Because there is this, like, you feel like you are in this closet or in this cocoon or in this sphere, and there is no room for you to move around. How do you expect your imagination to flow? When you want to do something, and when you want to write something, or when you want to draw something, what do? You go outside, you go to the nature, you go around, and your eyesight needs to have this space in front of you so that your imagination can flow, your ideas can flow. Like in my house, I used to have my desk facing the wall. And all the time when when I had my desk facing the wall, I would never be able to focus. And then I realized, oh my God, Of course I won't be able to focus. Of course I won't be able to, have ideas because I'm so limited by that wall in front of me. These are my limits. So I removed my desk from there. I put my desk literally facing the balcony door, and everything started making sense. I started feeling less overwhelmed. I started feeling less stressed. I started feeling like as if I'm sitting outside and working outside, but I am at home or I am at my desk. But this is how much being surrounded by things affects us. This is how much having so many things around you can cause issues for you. It's not really helping you to have so many things. Because let's face it, when I also did my cluttering, I'll tell you something. I even did the decluttering for my kitchen. And in my kitchen, I had actually done that same exercise when the lockdown was happening in 2020. So I decluttered my kitchen then. And I did that exercise again earlier this year. And I still had so many things to give away. In those 2 years, I don't know if I was actually collecting things, or when I did that decluttering, I did not really do it right. And not doing your decluttering right will make you go back to hoarding or go back to collecting things again or go back to making your space become like limited again or full of things again. So decluttering actually does need to be done in a very, very specific way. And when you do decluttering in that very specific way, you will be doing it once. And it's not like something that you will go over and over again. Like even when people say that they will like now the season has changed and I want to put away my summer clothes and bring my winter clothes. When you do decluttering in the proper way and you release all this energy from your space, there will be no need for you to have so many things. By the way, it will come naturally when you do it right. Then the simple space that you have will be enough. And I promise you, like, I was so surprised when this happened. The space that you have will be enough for the things that you will actually really keep, because you did that exercise in the right way. And when you declutter properly, the second step that you're going to have to do, obviously, is the organizing. So decluttering and removing everything. And decluttering doesn't have to, it's not only about your space, it's about so many other things as well. So you first declutter your home, because obviously your home is the space where you spend most of your time. And the other space where you spend most of your time is your office. So these two places are very, very important for people to declutter. And yes, your office is also your space. So if by nature you are someone who keeps things, you will keep them, whether you keep them in your office or in your home. You will find space for anything that you want to keep. You will find space for it. In your mind, that space is normal and it makes sense. It would probably not make sense to me, like exactly how I felt with my mom, or how I still feel with my mom, because the house is still full of so many things that are really not required. Like there's a picture of me, there's a picture of me in our house that is, that same picture is placed in 4 or 5 different frames in 4 or 5 different rooms. So if you move from one room to the other, you will see that same picture. And it applies to pictures of my brothers and of my sister and of their kids and of extended family. It's like literally you're going into a photo booth filled with pictures of people, of everyone that you know, and sometimes that you don't even know, like a museum. And it makes zero sense to me, but to my mom, it makes a lot of sense. And to my dad, too, by the way, because he also is a hoarder. If you see his office, and he has his own office in our house, maybe one day, actually, I will share some pictures on the Facebook group. I actually want to do that. I will share some pictures just so you understand what I mean by clutter, what I mean by having so many things. And maybe this is something that is touching you. Maybe it's coming to you because it's hitting that, weak spot, or that, like that nail on its head, because yes, this is me and I need to figure this out, and I need to get rid of all of this emotion that I have, or this need that I have to keep things, so that I can release all that energy from my space, and let it go once and for all. So going back to wanting to do things the right way, wanting to declutter the right way, I'm going to give you the first like thing that can help you today. If you start today by doing this, just start by realizing where it is that you actually do have a lot of clutter, and start with that space. So decluttering, the first hint is categorize the spaces that you have. Number one, your space needs to be categorized. And when you declutter, you need to declutter each category alone. And the whole category has to be there. So, for example, when I was decluttering, I did my clothes first, but I had clothes everywhere. So if you have clothes in the laundry, you need to put them just in front of you. If you have clothes that are being like put out to dry, if you have a different, like, for example, I had some jackets of mine, some shoes. I'm a biker, so some shoes of my biking shoes in the store where my bike is parked next to the store. So I would just, wear them and go out. Everything had to be taken out so that I can do that exercise. So this is the first tip, and the most important tip I'm going to give you to start your exercise. To start by preparing yourself for that huge task that you will have coming your way if you are in that space in your mind where you want to fix things for yourself, where you want to feel more liberated in your own space, in your own thoughts, in your own priorities, in your own time. All of these, by the way, would be cluttered as well as a result of all the clutter around you. Your thoughts would be cluttered, your time would be cluttered, and open your eyes and realize this, and start noticing how, because you have so much clutter, you're not even able to have a proper schedule. You feel all over the place all the time, because also you cannot prioritize your thoughts. You cannot even prioritize your priorities. You don't have this because everything is important to you. Everything has to be now. Everything has to be here. This is how a hoarder feels and thinks. Everything has to stay. Nothing should go. So the first thing that you want to realize is that when you want to work on this is how it's going to happen. You're going to start by this very specific place, this very specific category, and you're going to do a very, very to the point exercise without missing any piece of clothes, of like your socks, your stockings. Everything has to be there, including your bed linens and all of this, and your towels. So you start with that. And the rest is something that I will be teaching and I will be helping you with in my program, Awaken the Champion Within You. This program is made specifically for people who are hoarders and at the same time who have a lot of clutter around them. And at the same time, having this causes so many things for us in our lives. Like, we never finish things. We never feel like there's something that we've really accomplished. We are always stuck in repeating things over and over again, because for us, nothing is enough. As people who collect or as hoarders. So we procrastinate and we keep things happening around. So all of this is like interconnected. Everything is happening at the same time. And in my program, Awaken the Champion Within You, I'm here to support you dissolve this and get out of this situation on all levels, and decluttering is one of them. And also, when you are doing the decluttering, like I told you, you're going to have to dig deep and understand where that belief is coming from. Where is it and how can I fix it? Because you can fix it. And the minute you fix it, everything else falls in place. It's very, very impressive how different you would feel the minute you start realizing this and the minute you start going in that direction and starting that process. So today, my invitation to you is actually to get on a call with me if this is something that you feel I can support you with. Today, I want you to remember that if this is something that you have like an inclination to fix in your life, I'm here to support you. I'm here to hold your hand through that. I'm here to help you. And if you feel like really I can help you with this, and you feel like maybe she's that person who's going to really get me out of this situation, click declutter or write declutter underneath this video. And I will make sure I will reach out to you. And we will definitely have a discussion. And I will see, when we have this discussion, I will definitely be giving you some tips and tools that will help you today and now move away from clutter, at least as a first step. And I will understand really what your situation is and how your situation, what's the process that you are actually going through in your life, and how I can actually help you. If I can help you, and if this dynamic is the right dynamic for you and it will work for you, then I will tell you. how I can support you. So if this is really something that you are longing for or something that you want to fix for yourself in your life, type declutter in the comments below, and I will make sure I will reach out to you on Messenger, or I will tag you in a post, or by email. And having said that, I really, really hope that I shed a light today on something that will make a little bit of a difference in your life and that will move you from any stagnant situation that you are in a little bit closer to getting yourself out of that stagnation or out of that heavy situation that you might be in. And with that, I'm going to say ciao, ciao, and I'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.